Hello friends and welcome again to our channel The Teacher. In this tutorial we are going to learn about a few more Microsoft Word table commands which will help you in your day-to-day tasks. For more information about tables you can watch our previous video about creating, formatting and designing Microsoft Word tables. So let's get started, and here we have this yearly calendar document which has been designed through using Microsoft Word tables. Let's assume that you need to draw this kind of table in a Word document, but the main focus of this video is not only to teach you that how to draw this kind of table, but to teach you the basic concepts of using Microsoft Word tables and its associated commands. It will then never matter to you that how complicated a table design is. You will always be following a right method to draw a simple or a complicated table. The first thing you should keep in mind before starting working inside a Word document is the page layout settings. Click the page layout tab and make sure that you have selected the right paper size, orientation and page margins. However, you can change those settings anytime as you like, but it will be much better if you take care of those settings before you start the work. For instance, let's say that in a new Word document, I quickly insert a table with the desired columns and rows, and later I realize that I need to change the paper size, orientations and margin. As I said, you can change those settings anytime, but what will happen if you do this after inserting a table is you have to align and resize the entire table manually, as the table will not change its column size automatically if you later change the paper dimensions. Whereas, if you take care of the page settings first and then insert a table later on, then you will nearly get the desired column size as we require for this yearly calendar table. One more important setting that I have seen many users do not take in consideration before inserting a table is the font size. Yes, it really does matter. It is always good if you consider the required font size before inserting a table. Take a look in this calendar file that how many numbers have been written in a single row. So the font size can make a huge difference while designing a document. And you can see an example here, where in the first line 11 points font size has been used, and in the second line 8 point font size has been used. You can see the width difference in both lines, where there are only a few characters in both of lines, and you can imagine that how much big difference a wrong font size will create for this yearly calendar document. Now, after configuring the proper page and font settings in this new Word document, let's talk about designing a table. The first most important thing to consider before inserting a new table is that how many columns you need inside the table. You can also take the number of rows in consideration, but the required number of columns should be accurate. You might already know that you can even insert more columns or row inside a table anytime whenever required. But it is always good to count and insert the right number of columns, because let's say that I need to insert a new column in this yearly calendar table later on. And see what will happen then. Most probably, chances are that your table design will get disturbed after you add one or more columns later on. So you must be perfect in counting the right number of columns. For instance, how many number of columns you might need to create this yearly calendar table? 3 sections of 7 columns each, then 21 columns, right? No, this is not the correct number of columns. Before I tell you the right number of columns required in this document, let me clear you one more basic concept of Microsoft Word tables. Always keep in mind that Microsoft Word will not let you insert another table beside a table. For instance, if you insert a new table of 7 columns and 8 rows and then adjust the size of the table, and later you think of inserting a new table alongside this table, then to your surprise, the insert table command will be disabled, and it indicates that it will not let you insert another table side by side. So just like this yearly calendar document, if you ever need to create section between tables like side-by-side tables, then always remember that those are not three separate tables, but is an entire a single table with an extra hidden columns between each table section. To clarify this further, let's turn on View Grid Lines option from the Layout tab. Here you can now see that it is a single complete table and extra columns and rows has been used to create a gap between months, and later border of those extra columns and rows has been hidden. So they look like separate tables but are instead a single table. So how many number of columns should be inserted for this yearly calendar is 23 to have a space after each month. One extra column after the first month and another extra column after the second month. An accurate number of rows does not matter because you can easily add a few extra rows even after inserting a table without actually disturbing the table layout. Most of the time, adding extra rows does not actually disturb the layout of your table. So for this yearly calendar, you can insert 7 rows to first have the month heading on top row, then days heading in the second row, and the entire days of a month from 1 to 31 days in the next 5 rows. If you want to insert the entire table in one shot, then you can have 23 columns for 3 months in one section and 31 rows to complete the 4th section downside, including an empty row after each section. After filling the information, your table will look like this. Now the only thing you require to complete this table is to hide the borders of those extra columns and rows to display a gap between each month. To do this, select the empty cells between the months. Click the Borders drop-down button and then click Borders and Shading. Here in the preview section, your selection is displayed and you need to remove those borders that you do not wish to display. The top horizontal line and the bottom horizontal line in the preview is the topmost and bottommost border of your selection. And the middle horizontal lines represents all the horizontal lines in the middle of your selection. So I uncheck all these 3 horizontal borders and apply the changes. I repeat the same steps to hide the borders after the second month. To place a gap between the top 3 months and the next 3 months, I will hide the borders of extra rows, and to do this, I will first select that row and then will click on Borders and Shading under Borders drop-down menu. This time I will remove all the vertical lines within from my selection, and after applying the changes, there you have a gap between 3 month section. I will repeat the same steps for the next 3 months and so on, and after I am done, this is how the table will looks like. Whenever you need to see the hidden borders, you can click on View Grid Lines option from the Layout tab. So this tutorial was not about a special Microsoft Word command, but to teach you some basic steps that you can take in consideration when designing some complicated tables. I hope you will find this video informative. Tell us your opinion about this video by liking, sharing and commenting on this video. Subscribe to our channel for more upcoming tutorial videos. Thanks for watching and take care.